This video lecture has been produced using artificial intelligence with the supervision of Belhaven faculty. Today, we're going to explore a crucial aspect of school improvement, perceptions data. We'll be looking at how understanding the beliefs of your students, staff, and parents is truly fundamental to creating meaningful and sustainable change within a school. We've structured our discussion into four main parts. First, we'll establish a clear understanding of what perceptions data is and why it's so valuable. Then, we'll move into the practical side of things, the process for actually collecting this data. From there, we'll discuss how to transform that raw data into actionable insights. And finally, we'll conclude with a period of reflection to help you apply these concepts. By the end of our time together, you should be able to accomplish three key objectives. First, to distinguish between descriptive data, which tells you what is, and perceptions data, which helps explain why. Second, you'll be equipped to analyze a data profile to identify its strengths, challenges, and implications. And third, you'll be able to recognize the features of an effective assessment tool, one that yields data truly useful for monitoring effectiveness. So, let's begin with the fundamentals. What are we actually talking about when we say perceptions data? This first section will define the concept and explore its value within the context of a school. At its core, a perception is a view, a judgment, or an appraisal. You could even call it a belief or a conviction. And the most critical point here is also the simplest. If we genuinely want to understand what our stakeholders perceive, we can't assume. We have to ask them directly.
So why is this so important? Well, perceptions data provides a unique window into the inner workings of a school. It can illuminate where deep, meaningful changes are taking root. It helps us revisit and align with the school's vision. It allows us to gauge staff cohesiveness, identify professional learning needs, and get an honest look at how students experience their education. It can even reveal new avenues for engaging parents more effectively.
Now that we've established the importance of perceptions data, the next logical question is how to gather it. In this section, we'll outline a methodical, structured approach for collecting this vital information. There are several methods available for assessing perceptions. You can conduct one-on-one interviews, organize focus groups, or use self-assessment tools. However, one of the most common and effective instruments is the questionnaire. It allows for broad data collection, and the anonymity it can provide often encourages more candid responses. But implementing a good questionnaire is much more than just writing down a few questions. It's a systematic process. You have to start with a clear purpose. What is it you need to know? Then, you develop your instrument, identify the right participants, and establish a system for administration. And it doesn't end there. You need a clear method for analysis and a strategy for sharing the results. It's a complete cycle. This flowchart provides an excellent roadmap for that entire process. Let's walk through it. It all begins with determined purpose. What do you want to learn? This informs the questions you ask and who you need to ask. Then you move into developing and, very importantly, piloting the instrument. You have to test it to make sure it works. Only then do you administer it to collect the data. After collection comes analysis, making sense of the responses. And finally, you have to display, share, and most critically, use those results. You'll notice this is a continuous loop, driving ongoing improvement. Let's zoom in on that develop instrument phase because it's absolutely crucial. The goal is to create a tool with good questions. Once you have a draft, you must pilot it. This step ensures the instrument is both reliable, meaning it's consistent, and valid, meaning it actually measures what you intend for it to measure. Based on that pilot feedback, you revise and review before administering the final version. This is a non-negotiable part of a rigorous process. All right, you've gone through the process and you've collected the data. Now what? This next phase is about transforming those raw responses into meaningful insights that can actually inform action and lead to improvement. As you begin your analysis, there are several guiding questions to consider. The first is perhaps the most pragmatic. Can we take action with this data? From there, look for patterns. Where is there strong agreement or disagreement? If you have longitudinal data, how have things changed over time? And, importantly, are there differences in perception among various subgroups, like students, teachers, or parents? This slide illustrates one of the most important parts of the analysis, making sense of open-ended, qualitative responses. On the left, you see the raw data, all the individual comments as they were submitted. That arrow in the middle represents the analytical work, reading, coding, and identifying common themes. And on the right, you have the aggregated results, a structured summary of those themes. This is the process of turning many individual voices into a clear, collective message. This brings us to our final section. Here, we'll synthesize the key takeaways from our discussion and consider how to apply these concepts in a practical setting. So, let's take a moment to reflect. First, what are perceptions data? Why are these data so important for the work of continuous school improvement? Who should have access to this information? And finally, a challenging question. Can perceptions be changed, and if so, how? To continue your learning, please complete the assigned readings and writing, participate in the discussion questions, and take the unit quiz if it's applicable to your course. For those who wish to explore these topics in greater depth, the references used in this presentation are provided for your further study. And finally, all image sources have been cited for your reference. Thank you for your attention. I hope this overview has been a valuable introduction to the role of perceptions data in school improvement.